All right, you battlers, you know what it is. JayDevin back at it with another Go Battle League video. So today's video is a little different. It's not exactly going to be like a, check out this team, try this strategy, use this Pokemon kind of thing. I mean, you'll get some battles that I did for some Go Battle League in the Great League on my road to rank 10. These were pretty successful sets too, so I guess you can watch those in the meantime. But this video, I feel like, is a little special. It's something that I want to do, but I'm kind of afraid to do it at the same time because honestly, I really don't know if this is something that, you would actually want to watch or not. I had a couple comments that said that they wanted to see something like this, but overall, this is kind of uncharted territory for me. So, just bear with me. Just bear with me a little bit. But so it's going to be 5 teams, basically my top 5 favorite teams in the Great League for Go Battle League. But specifically, these teams do not include Registeel or Azumarill, and they are actually, successful teams that perform very well. I know you've probably already got like a 1 or 2, on the tip of your tongue. You're ready to say it right off the bat. Campaign team. Yes, that's. But let's go ahead and just get into the first team. The first team actually, by the way, actually, real quick first, these teams, they're not. I mean, it's a top 5 favorite. These are just, I guess, my all-time 5 favorite. They're not ranked in any particular order. So, it's not like I have one all-time favorite that I think is a better team than the other 4. They're just straight up 5 teams that are my favorite. Literally, that's it. So, just wanted to make that clear. So, the first one, of course, the first one is going to be the good old Beat Down Bell Squad, the Bronzong team. So, again, if you're not really familiar with me, or if you haven't been following me long enough, you don't join streams, or you're just new to my channel, or you're a new subscriber, for example, Bronzong is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon for Pokemon Go PvP in the Great League, period. He might just be the #1 favorite for me overall. So, of course, when Go Battle League came out, I had to develop a line for Bronzong that I could, consistently perform with. So, with the team, the strat's super simple. Lead with the Bronzong, swap Spiritomb, and then Scrafty's gonna destroy. I did make a whole video on that. If you didn't watch the video and you'd be interested to because you want to look at this team, I'll link it right up there so you can go ahead and take a look if you would like. But that is going to be the first one for this video. The second one is, oh man, this was actually when the preseason first hit. I used this team quite a bit, and it did bring me a lot of success. It has obviously a few weak spots, but it is the team that I noticed on Twitter from Charles Orr. So if you'd like to follow him, I think I did it before as well too. But again, if you'd like to follow him, I'll put the link in the description below. But this team, so when I first looked at it, I'm like, this team is nonsense, because if they bring a Whiscash, and or a Swampert, especially if they open with one, you're done for. What's really surprised me when I tested out the team, what I noticed, because it is going to be a muck with Snarl, Dark Pulse, and then Sludge Wave, you can actually, so let's say, for example, they open up with a Swampert. Obviously, with the Lantern, you don't want to be in that matchup. You are, for the most part, you're going to lose unless you build up to a Hydro Pump and they don't shield. That's your only win condition in a Lantern versus Swampert open. And even then, if that doesn't KO, you're still in big trouble. You basically have to use both shields. So it's a very disadvantageous open and a disadvantageous matchup. Even worse against a Whiscash. But if you swap in, not with the Meganium, right? You save the Meganium. If you swap in with the Alolan Muck, they're going to think, why would they do that? They just choked. They just made a mistake. Because I'm going to beat this Alolan Muck. I can hit the Alolan Muck for super effective. But that's the thing. Because it's a Snarl Alolan Muck, when you swap in, Snarl's going to generate energy to access that Dark Pulse very, very fast. So what I found that I did most often when I used that team is I would swap in, shield once, and only once for the most part, just shield once, and just throw the Dark Pulse. If they shield, sometimes I'll shield again and then throw the Dark Pulse again. And then, based off that, if they're really that desperate to win against the Alolan Muck with their Mud Boy or their Ground User, then, we'll just let the Muck fall. Then we can come in with Meganium next. And then normally, based on people's team compositions, they like to have well-rounded teams that have answers for, their weaknesses and whatnot. Lantern's gonna just finish the job. So like you open with Lantern, then normally I would end up closing with the Lantern. So it's kind of a mind game team. It's pretty tricky to use. I think it does take I don't want to say a little bit of skill, mostly it just takes practice and being familiar with the team. But yeah, lead Lantern, it's a bait swap, I guess is what I wanted to call it with the Alolan Muck. It's a bait swap. And then overall too, I did note they are all heavy hitters. Like Lantern can put up a decent fight against even an Altaria. It can put up a fight against a Registeel. The same thing with the Alolan Muck. Meganium can't touch Altaria, but Meganium can put up a fight against a Registeel. And the same goes for all three of these things against an Azumarill. All three of these Pokemon have an answer to Azumarill. Lantern with the Thunderbolt, Alolan Muck with the Sludge Wave, then obviously Meganium with the Frenzy Plant. So it's like a super aggressive, heavy hitter bait swap lead Lantern team. Again, shout out to Charles Orr. The next team is not actually, I don't know. Yeah, let's just do it right now. There's no point in waiting. The next team, obviously, it's probably still pretty fresh on everybody's mind. The video he made for this team is insanely successful. Shout out and mad respect to you, Mr. Caleb Pang. But it is Caleb Pang's team of Skarmory, Shiftry, and Meganium. This is, it definitely, there was another team that was on there, but once that video came out and he had, what did he go, 27-0, 26-0, something like that? 26-0 in a team that has no Registeel and no Azumarill. Not only that, but it has double grass. Double grass, dude. This team instantly made it into my top 5 for teams in the Pokemon Go PvP Great League for Go Battle League. That's a mouthful. But I don't know that I can really explain the strategy, how it really needs to be explained. Honestly, I'll just link the video up there. If you want to look more into that team, I highly encourage you go watch the video that Caleb made if you have not already watched it. But basically, what I think is the gist of the video, and somebody in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, or even Caleb, correct me if I'm wrong, but lead Skarmory, a lot of the times, depending on how the matchups work out, it's going to be a sacrificial swap strategy. And it's basically just anti-water, right? You're going to punish the Mud Boys, you can punish Azumarill, and you also have, this is kind of similar to the previous team with Charles Orr with the lead Lantern, Alolan Muck, and then Meganium in the back, because all three of these things can put up a fight against Azumarill, and also all three of these things can put up a fight against Registeel. Skarmory will struggle a little bit more, but you'd be surprised the damage output that Skarmory can put onto a Registeel if they do not use any shields, right? So I feel like, this is kind of another tricky team where if you don't already know the strategy and you don't already know the comp, it's going to sweep you like the previous one. And that's why, that's it, because he went 26-0 with it. So, all right, and getting into the next team here, this is also another team that I developed. It is the, oh man, I called it the spiciest team ever for Go Battle League and Mega Spice, whatever you want to call it. I still think this is a pretty dang spicy team. Someone put a comment on that video of, Granbull is pretty spicy, but Hypno and Vigoroth are both only mildly spicy. They're kind of common. Like, I can agree with that, especially with the Hypno, not so much with Vigoroth, but specifically the team composition, like having these three together, like, come on, that's spice. That's a spicy team. So it's lead with the Granbull, Snarl, close combat, and play rough. You do not run Crunch on this variant with the Granbull, because I found that this team basically failed every single time, because I ended up in a situation where I had nothing at all to throw at the Azumarill, because Vigoroth and Hypno ended up being either hard countered or just, TKO'd by a Hydro Pump or Flash Cannon, etc. So you actually run Snarl, close combat, play rough on the Hypno. Since I'm basically using him as a safe swap in this team, he is going to be running Confusion, Thunder Punch, and then Shadow Ball. Man. Realistically, you could still also go Confusion, Thunder Punch, and Focus Blast. You could run it either way and the team would function the same. In fact, in a lot of situations, it might even be better if you go Confusion, Thunder Punch, Focus Blast. But I think when I ran it, I just use Shadow Ball because I prefer Shadow Ball personally. But with the Vigoroth, it is just going to be a standard set Vigoroth, counter, body slam, and it's Bulldoze now. When I made the video, if you haven't seen the video, go ahead and check it out. But when I made the video, I was using Brick Break, and I thought it was smart to use Brick Break. I thought it was the right thing to do, but like, no, just don't use Brick Break. I mean, even against a Registeel, for example, it's going to be much more worth it to just go for the Bulldoze, especially when shields are down. But that's part of the reason I guess I opted for Brick Break, is because between the Granbull and the Hypno, believe it or not, they're actually not really shield breakers. They're more for the damage output, basically. So that's why I ran the Vigoroth that way. At this point in time, again, though, I do think it's better counter Body Slam Bulldoze. Even against the Skarmory, don't go Brick Break, just Body Slam. Trust me, just Body Slam the Skarmory. But yeah, lead Granbull every single time. One thing I loved about this team I put together too is I found it did have flexible swaps, right? Like if they, let's say for example, they what's a good example for this? So if they open up, let's say if they open up with anything that has fighting type damage, oh man, what's a good example? Let's say a Registeel, okay? Let's say they open up with the Registeel and I open up with the Granbull. By instinct, they're going to think, okay, I won this lead, it is advantageous, but no. Snarl, it generates energy so quickly, you are going to end up just shielding one Flash Cannon, and then I believe 2 or 3 Snarls after you shield that Flash Cannon, you can throw double close combat. So if one lands, it's not going to quite TKO the Registeel, but then you can just throw another one right after that. And I found more often than not, they end up using a shield in situations like that. Then when they do use that shield, I do a quick swap, like as quick as I possibly can, into my Vigoroth, so that Vigoroth can counter down and farm up energy before their Registeel has a chance to gain access to another Flash Cannon and or Focus Blast. So that, amongst other situations, Granbull as an open, I feel like really gives me the advantage that I need against meta teams and meta picks that a lot of people don't know really how to respond to. And specifically, again, going back to the fact that I do not run Crunch, when people open with Azumarill, I need to have that play rough, because you need to have something that can at least hit, or at least, throw a legitimate bait at the Azumarill. Otherwise, this strategy is just, it doesn't work. Like, you have to have Snarl, close combat, and play rough. But yeah, lead Granbull, flexible swaps, and overall the team does have strong coverage, very good coverage. I think the coverage, honestly, would be even better if you did TM the Shadow Ball on a Hypno to Focus Blast. If you ran Confusion, Thunder Punch, and Focus Blast, then I think it's going to have more and better coverage against the meta as a whole. All right, and for the next team, this next team is super spicy. It does feature also one of my all-time favorite picks. Its typing and roles that it fills against the meta in the Great League is very, very similar to Bronzong, save for the fact that it does not have a spammy Psychic charge move, and it also does not provide any ground charge move coverage. So this is Alfindeol's team. Shout out to my guy Alfindeol. Dude, if you watch this video, seriously, shout out to you. This team is amazing. The variant that I used, honestly, like, please don't be upset, but I just did not like leading with Meganium. It never worked out for me. It just didn't fit my play style. The variant that I ran was Umbreon Jirachi and then Melmetal, and I had a lot more success with that. But the way Alfindeol runs it, and he hit rank 10 with this team. So the way that he uses it is probably going to be a lot better than the way I use it. Let's be real, right? So he opens up with Meganium. He's going to swap Jirachi almost without exception. Like, almost every single time he will swap Jirachi. And then the main thing that I did notice about this team, like no matter what I decided to open with, is it's going to have flexible closers, because Jirachi, the damage output with Doom Desire, even if it's resisted, surprises a lot of people, and honestly, it takes a lot of people off guard. And if they, come in with a Mudboy, for example, right? A Mudboy is not going to want to shield a Doom Desire, because that's not going to do that much damage. They're going to resist it. So the set you run on Jirachi is Confusion, Doom Desire, and Psychic, which it is a mythical Pokemon, so it is 100,000 Stardust and 100 candies to even do that. So it's very expensive, but you punish them, by not wanting to shield the Doom Desire by just throwing the Psychic. And a lot of times they still don't shield and the Psychic lands. The same thing against Alolan Marowak too. A lot of times they just won't shield because Alolan Marowak would resist the Doom Desire. But that's the thing, I guess, about Jirachi. It's unpredictability, and people are not familiar with it in Pokemon Go PvP. And then just the sheer spammability, energy generation, and powerhouse moves coming out from Melmetal, right? Thundershock, Rock Slide, and Superpower. Perfect coverage for the most part against the entire meta. You sacrifice, I guess, super effective against an Azumarill because you are not running Thunderbolt, but you're fine just throwing the Rock Slides because those are still going to be super spammy and they at least deal neutral. So again, this team is super aggressive. The team is super smart. And if people are not prepared, it's the same thing with this team. If people are not prepared, they don't know the team, or they just don't have the answers, like, it's done. It's GG's. And that's it. Those are the 5 teams. That's all she wrote. And again, the thing that I really love, I guess, the most about all 5 of these teams, not to be too repetitive, but there's no Azumarill and there's no Registeel. And all of these teams can beat teams that include Azumarill and Registeel. Now, me personally, because I'm familiar with these kind of teams, I can run an Azumarill Registeel core in the Go Battle League, and if I see something like this come up, I'm going to know how to deal with it. I'm going to know when to shield, when to not shield, just based off of a lot of practice. But yeah, that's these teams are nuts. These teams are absolutely nuts. Let me know what you think about these top 5 teams in the comments below. I guess, or my top 5 favorite teams in the comments below. Which one is your favorite? Which one do you think performs best? And I guess, to have a little bit more fun with this video rather than just me talking about the top 5. Let's say if all these teams, so if these top 5 teams all had to play in a tournament against each other, and let's say they're different players, right? These different players brought these teams. Which team do you think is going to win? Which one, dude? Which one? You know what? Let me look at it. Okay. I kind of feel like my Bronzong team would take the cake. Because I'm going to lead Bronzong every time, right? Well, I guess I don't want to see the Lantern matchup. But we do have the Psyshock and the Bulldoze, so it's not that bad. We don't want to see the Skarmory lead. That would be kind of tough. We definitely would not like to see the Granville team, especially if we don't know that it's not running Crunch. Like, if we think it's running Crunch, we basically think we lose that matchup. And then the Alfindeol team, I feel like the Bronzong team would whoop the Alfindeol team. Well, let's see. Bronzong, Spiritomb, Scrafty, Meganium. Yeah, the Alfindeol's team gets whooped by the Bronzong team. I don't know. I'm probably looking too much into that. But if all these tournaments win, if all these teams went into a tournament against each other, who do you think would win? Throw it down in the comments below. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing a different video like this. But battlers, that is it for this video. So subscribe if you feel my vibe. Power up, punch the notification bell for all that PvP content. Again, that's it for the video. We'll see you in the next video, battlers. Have a good stinking day.